Welcome back to TV Education Timor in the Voice of America News. Israel missiles destroy Gaza building housing foreign media outlets. Number of unaccompanied minors at United States-Mexico borders fall this week.
Mexico border have risen, but that number reflects undocumented adults' repeated attempts to cross.
Top United States squash player trained for major tournaments. I will accompany all of you in a few minutes with many kind of information. Provide you to the real news in which is taken factually and actually in international from all around the world. Well, let's begin the news for today. Israel missiles destroy Gaza building house foreign media outlets. Fireballs erupt at the Jala Tower as it hit by Israel airstrike in Gaza City in May 15, 2021.
ضلك صور شو يا بابا؟ يلا من هان يا بابا هان.
Top immigration official on Thursday pledged a comprehensive response to the influx and unaccompanied minors at the United States-Mexico border.
U.S. President Joe Biden renews his push for immigration reform Friday with a White House meeting with recipients of DACA, a program providing legal status to undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as children. A renewal of that program, broadly popular with the American public, passed the U.S. House earlier this year and is now stalled in the evenly divided Senate. Senate Republicans say the Biden administration has a crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border.
The crisis today is unprecedented, far worse than it was last year, and even substantially worse than 2019, when everyone considered it a crisis.
The administration pushed back Thursday, saying that was the result of Trump-era immigration policies.
We are dedicated to an orderly, safe, and humane immigration system, and therefore we stopped the prior administration's policy of expelling the unaccompanied children. We did not turn them away.
The number of unaccompanied minors at the border has fallen to fewer than 500 this week.
In March, there were more than 5,000 children who were in Border Patrol custody specifically, each spending an average 115 hours in Border Patrol facilities. But as of this last Tuesday, I understand there's 455 children in Border Patrol custody, each spending an average of 28 hours in those facilities. That's a dramatic decrease in both the number of children in custody and the time spent in Border Patrol custody.
Apprehensions of adults at the U.S.-Mexico border have risen, but that number reflects undocumented adults' repeated attempts to cross. Vice President Kamala Harris has been tasked with solving some of the root problems of migration, a mission Republicans say will not be enough.
We can't solve all the problems of the world, let alone the problems in Latin America and the problems here in our country. Do you agree with this, that we have to focus on enforcing our border, finishing the border barrier, using the technology? By the way, if it's technology, use technology, but somehow deal with this in an urgent and aggressive manner.
Senator, we are indeed focused on securing our border and, in fact, using technology as the most effective, or one of the most effective ways of doing it, number one.
Increased funding for border security would likely be part of any deal worked out to pass Democratic lawmakers' sweeping immigration reform proposal introduced earlier this year. Catherine.
The Tokyo Summer Olympics, which open on July 23, will feature 4 new sports: surfing sport, climbing, skateboarding, and karate.
The surfing competition will be held at Shidashida Beach, located some 64 kilometers from Tokyo. American athletes are ready, says the head of USA Surfing.
And the waves are breaking over sand, and they're generally not super powerful like you would find in Hawaii, but they're, you know, Caroline Marks grew up in Florida, so she's really used to those types of waves. As did Chloe Andino growing up in San Clemente. So I think our chances for medaling are really good.
Four-time world champion Carissa Moore is 28, the youngest team member. She is expected to have a good chance of winning a medal.
I've just kind of been surfing and training like I would for a normal event, and I think the more time I've had has actually let me kind of go back to a basic level and really look at my surfing and see where I could make improvements.
All in all, 40 athletes will compete for medals in surfing, 20 men and 20 women. They will be competing on shortboards that are known for their maneuverability. Skateboarding will include 2 disciplines. The first one is street skateboarding, which focuses on flat ground tricks, grinds, slides and aerials within urban environments and public spaces. The second one is park skateboarding, that takes place on special ramps. Among 80 sportsmen competing for medals, 16 are Americans. 16-year-old Bryce Wettstein won the 2019 National Championship for Women's Park and is widely seen as Team USA's top medal contender.
I want everybody this year to see that skateboarding can be everything. Because a lot of times the things that emerge out of skateboarding are that you never really see the full picture of skateboarding when you have just one person, because so many people do it in a different way.
Competition is expected to be heated in sports climbing.
With only 2 men and 2 women representing USA, that's a really high performance that's going to be required to make it not only obviously to the games, but to make it to the qualification, out of the qualification round in Tokyo, and then also into the finals. We just hope they have their best performance on both of those days.
Sports climbing features 3 main disciplines: speed, bouldering and lead. Speed climbing pits 2 climbers against each other, both climbing a 15-meter wall. In bouldering, athletes scale a number of fixed routes on a 4.5-meter wall in a specified time. In lead, they attempt to climb as high as possible on a wall measuring over 15 meters in height within a specified time. In Tokyo, the 3 will be combined.
I feel proud for the sport of climbing and for the community behind it, because I think that it has a lot to offer the world, and being on the Olympic stage will help it spread what it has to offer. Aside from any result, I just want to compete my best.
Team USA Karate is still working on its lineup. So far, only Sakura Kokumai has secured her spot on the team to compete in the women's individual kata event.
I can't tell you how much I've given up in my pursuit of just chasing the highest level of sport. It's an awesome feeling to know that we reached the pinnacle of sport. You know, there's nothing bigger or greater than the Olympics.
Athletes will also compete for medals in baseball and softball, relatively new sports that are coming back after the pandemic break. Maxim Moskalko for VOA News, Washington.
Two documentaries offer insight into traditional Native American land management as they adapt to climate change.
Inhabitants, a documentary by Anna Palmer and Costa Boutsikaris, shows how Native Americans are restoring their ancient relationship with the land to deal with global warming. One of them is traditional Hopi farmer Michael Koturua Johnson, who is growing seeds resilient to drought in northern Arizona's arid climate.
These are called hatiko, they're brown lima beans.
Koturua Johnson has earned a PhD in sustainable agriculture.
There's so much moisture in the ground. No irrigation, folks.
Science is just starting to catch up to realizing that there can be melding in the indigenous way of doing science and the Western way of doing science, but there is still a really long way to go.
The Blackfeet tribe of northwest Montana is reintroducing the buffalo into its ancestral lands, making healthy meat locally available and creating jobs for tribal members.
Native people had a relationship with wild animals, and when Europeans came with highly domesticated animals, they really changed the landscape to make it fit what the Europeans wanted it to be.
This cattle colonialism, says Costa Boutsikaris, industrialized meat production and contributed to greenhouse gas emissions.
The cattle are not prepared for any climate change resilience. They can't handle drought, they can't handle heat, they can't handle winter.
In North Wisconsin, the Menominee tribe depends on lumber.
We don't have perfect knowledge, we don't have perfect science, but we've always been adaptive. I think Menominee's history has been adaptive to resource management.
Marshall Pecora says Menominees harvest their timber sustainably, keeping forest and wildlife intact. He says colonial America disrupted Native American forest management by taking away a large chunk of Menominee forests and destroying it through unfettered logging. In Northern California, the Karok tribe is reintroducing ancient Native American fire management practices to control unwanted vegetation and dried underbrush, and to regenerate aging wildlife habitat.
Air attack, Division November, command.
In her documentary, Bring Your Own Brigade, Lucy Walker also addresses the importance of the Native American practice of fighting fire with fire and links destructive fires in California to industrial logging and harmful reforestation methods.
Natural forests are less fire prone than you might think, and certainly less fire prone than the heavily logged areas.
And you can see the little planted trees in the background that were then killed by the campfire. There's no tall trees, there's no live trees. So this is a scene of total devastation. This is a wasteland.
Both films warn people must adapt to climate change by learning the time-tested practices of North America's original inhabitants. Penelope Pulu.
Pakistan immigrant who is now an American citizen is working hard to bring glory to United States professional squads in upcoming tournaments.
Allahu Akbar. During Ramadan, Shah Jahan Khan and his coaches would break for their Zuhr or afternoon prayers. They also would fast from dawn to dusk, as is the custom for Muslims during Ramadan. Yet training continued for Khan, who is looking forward to several major upcoming professional squash tournaments.
I'm focusing on 3 main events this season: El Gono Open that is in Egypt, the British Open in England, and the top tournament in Chicago, a $1 million event, the World Championship.
Shah Jahan Khan comes from a family of squash players. His father, who was a gold medalist for Pakistan in the Asian Olympics, coaches his son alongside Rahmat Khan, an established coach in Pakistan. Though born and raised in Pakistan, Khan became a U.S. citizen last year and lives with his family in California. Squash is an intense game. Khan burns 3,000 to 4,000 calories in a day. and normally eats 4 meals in a day. That's why training during Ramadan poses such a challenge.
For breakfast before dawn, I'll take eggs, yogurt, more protein in my diet, fruits that give me vitamins. The main thing is to have protein in your diet. For dinner, I'll have pasta, beef, watermelon to make up for the water I'll lose during training. I take a lot of electrolytes. You can get these in tablets.
Khan also changed his workout routine while fasting.
During Ramadan, I don't exert my energy as much in the court and work more on my strategy. Because I have already trained in the off-season, I just try to maintain my fitness and focus on the mental game and strategy on how to play with certain players.
Like most athletes, Khan's dreams are similar.
I want to be able to prove myself, leave a legacy, so the next generation would know that, oh yeah, Shah Jahan Khan, the world champion.
The 26-year-old squash player believes that his journey has just begun. Sabasha Khan, VOA News, Washington.
Well, viewers, that's all the news for today. And don't forget to keep following the COVID rules by how to protect yourself from the virus by wearing a mask, keep washing your hands, and keep social distancing. For more information, please call us on number below. I'm Darcely Lifania and all crew of VOA and TV Education Timor. We would like to say thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and see you all next time. TV Education Timor is the future inspiration.
Akompanha reportagem nasional TVE. Na kuno informação atual, factual com a política, defesa, segurança, economia, social e educação. Iha kalan tuku hitu oras Timor-Leste, no repetição iha tuku stanulu oras Timor-Leste. Iha dader tuku hitu oras Timor-Leste, repetição iha tuku stanulu rasinrua 5 minuto tolunulu oras Timor-Leste. Acompanhe-nos reportagem internacional, desporto nacional no internacional. Televisão Educação Timor, sem inspiração, ba futuro.
Notícia uing, usia área uing. Mas bem, itu precisa fokus. Atau simo informação los no credible. Acompanha programa Fokus. Fokus khusus ou Fokus Satan. Começa segunda-feira até sexta-feira. Tuku sia, tuku senulo resting ida. Live Iha Kanal TVE. Saya inspiração para futuro.
Playlist. A mim se apresenta vai ter botsira, música, videoclip, o título Oi Oi. Espera, se anima e te botsira e é tempo serviço no descansa. Playlist e a de canal TVE. Essa inspiração para futuro.